So we all know about SpongeBob, right? The yellow sponge who is always laughing, smiling, annoying his neighbor, and just all being around just being a goofy character with a starfish by the name of Patrick, who is his best friend. Well, now that we have the introduction, we're all settled. I'd like to all let you know that I have, or rather had, a very rare copy of a SpongeBob episode that was written by none other than Steven Hellenberg, now the creator of the show. I was roaming around Nickelodeon Studios in June of 2008, and let me tell you, that tickets to get in there were not that easy to get. Anyways, I ran into Mr. Hellenberg in one of the main areas of the studio. Not literally, I ran into him. You see, I kinda snuck into a high security area, and well, I ended up alerting the guards, as you might get. Now, after bumping into him, I apologized to Mr. Hellenberg, and I looked at him as if he was in a daze. I waved my hand in front of him, but he continued onward past me. This made me a little uneasy. Once he walked away, I saw something on the ground that I had bumped into Hellenberg. It was a videotape. It didn't have anything to resemble the title, nor anything remotely close to what the video was about. No sticker, nothing inside of the film projector, anything. I picked it up and ran very quickly out of the lot, and about a week later, my initial journey came back on plane to Chicago, and I remembered I still have the tape. Seeing as I had a VHS to DVD burner that I got for Christmas last year, I decided to get a blank DVD arcade disc and put it inside the DVD side of the burner with the video inside the VHS side. After about 30 minutes or so, it popped out into a disc on video. I think that's what it's supposed to do when a disc is done burning. Anyways, I popped the DVD into my computer. The audio play then popped out of nowhere, of course, and because I have modified my computer to do so, I decided to look around the folder for it. Then there was a movie file that went by the name of Pearl.AVI. Pearl? I then double-clicked the movie file, and as it shows a Windows Movie Media Play Center popped up. Are you ready, kids? Aye, aye, Captain! It was a SpongeBob episode. I thought to myself, oh, I haven't seen this show in so long. SpongeBob was in one of my favorite shows as a 10-year-old kid. Just hearing his nasally laughter of the sponge world would make my ears absolutely sing with joy. The metaphorically, of course. So the title of the episode came up, and I noticed something odd. There was no title for the episode, and just skipped right to it. It then showed the free things that I knew and loved about SpongeBob. The free main houses, the pineapple, the Easter Island head, and even the rock with the antenna on it. I smiled with nostalgia when I heard SpongeBob's laughter echoing throughout the computer speakers. SpongeBob was watching a TV show in his little diver helmet TV about 5 seconds after the scene transitioned into SpongeBob's house, and Pearl, Mr. Krabs' daughter, burst through the manor. Do you know the mini waterfall coming out of her eyes? SpongeBob begins to walk over and ask Pearl, what's wrong? Pearl replies, oh, SpongeBob, it's just terrible. Daddy won't talk to me. He hasn't said a single word to me at all day. He just sits in his bedroom looking down at the floor and sighing. To SpongeBob, he replies back with her with the most of a heroic way. Mr. Krabs? That seems weird. Don't worry, Pearl. I'll go and talk to him. I'm not. You will, SpongeBob? Pearl replies, with looking of happiness in her face. SpongeBob then nods. Pearl is then seen hugging SpongeBob and saying, thanks, SpongeBob, you're the coolest. The scene then transitions with Bubbles coming up to SpongeBob, nearing the giant anchor that Mr. Krabs and Pearl live in, saying, cool, huh? Cha-cha. And you hear a jazz trumpet in the chorus of the playing of the chord, as SpongeBob is seen doing a comedically cool stance look. Then he knocks on Mr. Krabs' door. When he sees Mr. Krabs, Claw quickly grabs SpongeBob and pull him into home. SpongeBobby boy, I'm glad you're here. I better tell ya something. What is it, Mr. Krabs? SpongeBob asks. Well, it's about Pearl. You see, she's... SpongeBob was confused by what Mr. Krabs' stammering asks. She's what, Mr. Krabs? A grim look upon Mr. Krabs' face. She's adopted me, boy. SpongeBob gasped. Adopted? A claw grabbed SpongeBob's lips as they were being comedically stretched forward. Shh, she might be out there listening. Now me, boyo. I want to tell her that she's adopted, but I can't do it. Tears begin to well up in Mr. Krabs' eyes. I just can't. SpongeBob then looks scared. But Mr. Krabs, I can't do that. It would break her fragile heart. SpongeBob, that's an order, Mr. Krabs says with sadness and frustration in his eyes. Yes, sir, SpongeBob says, as they salute and begin to run out panting. I, at this point, was starting to get a bit uneasy. Wasn't there a SpongeBob episode I knew back in the day? But this was something else. Something more adult. Now, even though I liked more adult stuff, the episode just made me really uneasy. Telling someone they're being adopted is not an easy task. Trust me, horrid results when it comes to told you that appearance of being someone who told you that is a person. The last time I had to do it, I had to coax someone out of, taking their own life. Anyway, back to the episode. The screen then transitions back to SpongeBob's house, where Pearl has been seen sniffling as SpongeBob pops his head into the busted doorway. Pearl then looks up immediately, overjoyed to see SpongeBob. SpongeBob! She cries out with excited tone. Did you find out why Daddy won't talk to me? SpongeBob says timidly when he clears his throat. Yes, I did. I did. SpongeBob said. Pearl then says in a concerned tone, What's wrong, SpongeBob? We then hear SpongeBob's thoughts. What to do? Should I tell her? Or should I lie to Mr. Krabs? No, lying wouldn't do a thing. Mr. Krabs would probably dock my pay to half a penny if I did that. This made me do a small chuckle, as I knew Mr. Krabs was a cheapskate. Now, my chuckle then fell silent as I heard SpongeBob was outright say, Pearl, I don't know how to tell you this, but you're adopted. Pearl's eyes then widened with both SpongeBob and I cringed. I then heard a laugh coming from the computer speakers. It was Pearl's laugh. That's a good one, SpongeBob. But really, why won't Daddy talk to me? Pearl, it's the truth. Mr. Krabs had me to come over to tell you. What? You're lying. Pearl then slaps SpongeBob very realistically and storms out of the house. We then see Pearl walking up to the front of the door with tears in her eyes, furious as she pushes the door open forcefully. She then sees her father and holding back her tears. Daddy, please tell me this isn't true. Please tell me SpongeBob is lying. Mr. Krabs then begins to tear up in a shaky voice and tells Pearl, Yes, it's true. When you were a baby, I was out scrounging around with the metal detector near the outskirts of Bikini Bottom, looking for loose change, when I stumble upon you and your mother, or what was left of her after scallops got to her. Then it transitions to a flashback sequence, and to this day it makes me cringe. It shows Pearl's eyes gouged out with one hanging, her tongue out and somewhat chewed off, but only her fins and bones, with her rib cage ripped and revealing a decaying muscle. And her throat had a hole which was showing a lot of organs. I turned away at this point, still listening. I found your mother laying there, morbidly decayed, and that's when I heard crying from nearby you. The crying was you. It looked like you just came out of your mother. I scooped you up and took you home, cleaned you up, and I kept you around for a good 16 years. I felt better to tell you now, when you're old enough to understand. I started crying. At this point, this became too adult, too real for a happy little kid show to want to know and love. I wanted to click off the X on the top right corner, but I just couldn't turn away. Pearl ran off crying, not a comedic tears either, just look realistic, almost human. SpongeBob, go me boy, go after her. These tiny legs won't catch up to her. Please, boyo. SpongeBob then nodded and began to run after Pearl, calling her name. Pearl then ran up faster, and SpongeBob began to struggle to keep up with her. Pearl stopped at the high of Coral Cliff. She turned around and told SpongeBob, Stop! She put a fin out. Do you know what it's like to not know your mother? To be in some creepy crusty ocean all your life thinking that he's your dad even though you both look completely different? I mean, how could a crab and a whale have a child? Pearl's voice then was becoming very shaky. She was then sobbing and uncontrollably. I don't think you do, but to be lied your entire life, to not know your true family, I don't want to be lied anymore. Pearl then proceeded to fall backwards and seemingly to the endless chasm. SpongeBob yelled, Wait, Pearl! He then ran down the cliff to the slope where he just ran after Pearl, as he ran as fast as he could, but he couldn't get down to the bottom before he heard a loud disgusting crack. I even cringed at the sound. It sounded like a bone snapping in two. As SpongeBob approaches Pearl, she has been seen with face up and violently pushed down, and of course, she had been dead. Her eyes were gray-blue now into a soulless, as if any person succumbed to their death. SpongeBob then walked up to her silently, his shoes no longer making that funny squeaking noise. He dropped to his knees realistically and next to her corpse and began to sob uncontrollably. He then hugged the corpse and looked up at the sky, saying, "Why, Neptune? She was too young. Why?" This caused me to sob along with SpongeBob. This cuts back to the episode cuts to black and it was finished. I couldn't believe it. Why would Hillenburg make such a demented, depressing episode? I then went to bed after this. The next day, after coming home from work, I had planned to extract the episode onto my hard drive and put it on YouTube in about 2 parts. It was a 15-minute episode, of course. When I got home, I saw everything was a mess. Papers were everywhere, my TV was gone, my computer and a company tower, mouse, and USBs that had in it were gone. My VHS to DVD burner were gone. Oh crap, I've been robbed. Where's the video? Where is it? I said as I began to look for the video that contained the episode, but I couldn't find it. That was the only VHS I had in my possession. I guess the robbers figured out it would be worth more money. I kind of figured that out too as well. To say I was unable to provide the video source, but I do apologize. I hope you've all heeded my warning of picking up any strange VHS in a famous studio after bumping into a famous cartoon writer. I don't think anyone will be seeing as well. Mouse.AVI was up on YouTube. But once again, let this story be a warning to you all to pick up strange tapes. You never know what you're going to end up watching. And that, my little pretties, was Pearl.AVI, a SpongeBob Lost episode creepypasta. My final thoughts on the story? I actually found this story to be a really good creepypasta for what it is. Yes, it has a few cliches in it, but it's actually a classic creepypasta. And I'm going to be completely and utterly honest. This story was honestly a pretty good one, in my opinion, though. Now, to take it by the fact, I have heard of this story that's been told on so many channels. Like, so many creepypasta channels have sat there and, narrated this. I remember Andal narrated this back in 2017. I remember Shadow narrated this story. And I think I kind of remembered narrating this back in 2019, but I can't honestly remember because it's been, quite a long time. But I decided to go ahead and go out of my way and narrate this again. If I did narrate it, that was. I can't remember. It's been, quite a while. So I could definitely say, I actually found this story to be rather good for what it is. Yes, I could definitely say there were some few cliches in the story, but I'm willing to excuse them. Because this is an old creepypasta. I'm not even sure when this was made. But this one was actually a pretty good pasta for what it is. It's a very believable creepypasta. It is messed up, to be completely and utterly honest. It is messed up at certain parts. So, I could definitely say now that this story was actually a pretty interesting story for what it was. Now, I could definitely say I have seen this story, on a lot of channels. A lot of other channels had sat there and, narrated this story. So I could definitely say this story was definitely something for what it was. It was an interesting concept, somebody finding out this messed up episode of, basically you could say about Pearl finding out that she's being adopted. And it's actually a pretty interesting, story. Now, I could definitely say that this story was actually pretty well made for what it was. It's actually a pretty well made story. Very interesting, really well made, and I actually found this story to be really enjoyable. Now, I could definitely say that the grammar of this story was actually really good. The grammar was really good and really well made, so I could definitely say I really do enjoy how this story went out. It was a pretty good concept for what this story was. So, I'm going to sit there and say the grammar was really good. I really do like the grammar, the sentence structuring, the storyline. Basically, everything about it was just flat out amazing. It's a pretty sad story at certain parts, too. So, I guess you could kind of say this is like a bit of a feels pasta to an extent. Not really 100%, but well, yeah. So I could definitely say that this story was actually pretty interesting for what it is. It had a good concept, it had a good grammar. It's actually a pretty good concept for what it is. It's actually really well made in detail. And I kind of remember, listening to narrations of this on YouTube, and I decided to go ahead and, narrate this because it's actually a pretty good story. Now, parts of the story was pretty emotional, I'm not gonna lie, especially where Pearl's mother, ends up being dead and all that. So, yeah, that's, I could definitely say. And I'm sorry I kind of sniffled a little bit. I'm not sad or anything. I just kind of have a little bit, I'm a little bit stuffy. So, yeah, it's probably just allergies going on where I am. So, yeah. So, with that being the case, the ending of it was just saying you never know what you're going to be watching, which is true. You never know what you're going to end up watching unless you watch something. Like, you're not going to, expect to watch anything normal, because you could watch something that ends up looking really freaky and stuff. It's actually a pretty good pasta for what it is. It actually was very believable. Now, I could definitely say and sit there and say that it was a pretty interesting and well-made story. So a lot of people right here, I could definitely say it's a pretty good story. A lot of people really like this story. So with that being the case, and with that being said, it's actually a pretty good creepypasta. So yeah, with that being said, it's on Goshia Wiki if you guys want to check it out. It's a pretty good classic SpongeBob creepypasta. So, with that being said, yeah, I don't know who the original author is, so it doesn't say. I'm just gonna leave it, as anonymous for now. If I do find out who the original author is, like I said, I'll be sure to give him or her proper credit if I do find out who the original author is. But with that being the case, to the author, great job with writing this story. Now, the only negative I could say was that it was a little cliche, just a little bit. That's mainly, the one reason why, the story is the way it is. It's just, it's a little cliched. It's cliched at certain parts, but, I'm willing to excuse the cliches that were in it, because this is actually an original story. So, with that being the case, and with that being said, yeah. I'm going to sit here and say this, that this is simply my own personal opinion, and if you happen to disagree with me, that is fine too. We're all entitled to our own opinions in regards to these creepypastas, and this is simply my own personal thoughts. My final rating of the story would have to be I'm going to give this one a 9 out of 10. I'm only giving this a 9 out of 10 because it was only cliched at certain parts of the story, but even though I'm willing to excuse it, that's just the only minor negative I could definitely say, but I don't have anything else I didn't like about this story to say. It's a pretty good story. Now, I highly recommend if you want to, see another SpongeBob creepypasta, I highly recommend you check out this SpongeBob one. This SpongeBob creepypasta is actually pretty well made for what it is. So, to the author, great job with this story. This was awesome. You did a great job. I hope you write pretty good pastas just as good as this one. Anyways, with that being the case, and with that being said, what did you guys think about this creepypasta? Did you all enjoy it? Did you not? Also, what we have done personally to help make this story a lot better? Leave me know what your thoughts are down in the comment section down below. I'm the Queen of Lions. Thank you so much for watching today's episode. If you happen to be brand new here on this channel, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe because I make brand new videos every single day. Don't forget to ring the notification bell to when I upload so that you guys will not miss an upload. And as always, please roll the outro because I'm out.